Yo, welcome back everybody. It's the final day. We've made it all the way through patch reveal season. We're down to the final two tribes, Dragons today, Murlocs today, and that'll give us all 10 tribes and neutrals and all the core mechanics for 4 trinkets. It's like day 8 of recording videos and I still can't remember what the mechanic's called. I want to say augments every time. It's going to hurt my soul this entire season. I got to get better at this. Anyway, without any further ado, same as every other day, if you're looking for the information and just the documents themselves, below the stream they're there. If you're missing any of the information from previous announcements, like all of the other tribes, or maybe just what are trinkets and what do they do, videos are also directly below the stream. Remember, turn 6, turn 9, you get a lesser trinket and a greater trinket. You buy them that turn, you keep the passive aura for the rest of the game. You spend gold one time, you can only select one, and you have to select 1 out of 4. It is what it is. Anyway, here come dragons. New minions, wannabe gargoyle. First of all, whoever is the artist for this one, you deserve a raise. That might be the cutest piece of art I have ever seen in Hearthstone BGs. Maybe 3 Little Pigs might still be number 1. Look at that guy. Look, he wants to be a gargoyle. That's adorable. I love him. Wannabe gargoyle, 4-star, 5/1 dragon. Reborn, this reborns with full attack. So if you buff the attack of the minion, when it comes back, it still has that buff. So it's like a double-bodied, pseudo-divine shield kind of style dragon. But a better way to play around things like ghoul. Because you could get the double attack and not lose the shield off the ping as long as it had enough health to survive the ghoul explosion. Pretty cool, pretty cool, pretty cool. Getting Warp Wing back, Monka. And Twilight Emissary is gone. Or I'm sorry, is back as well. And shockingly, they get rid of Wind Fury from Dragons immediately after bringing Warpwing back. Who would have thought, honestly? Nightbane is gone, so like the mid-game 4-star dragon play for poets and Nightbane scaling, gutted completely. And Murrow is gone. Murrow being gone this has been a staple for a very long time. The lines of like play Baron plus steel or Brann plus steel cards. And or like cycle on dragon boards, banking Murrows for key combats. Like that part of the strategy of the game no longer in. I'm a little sad to see him go. Anyway, you gotta get rid of things to open up space for new stuff. Here are our dragon trinkets. Dragons, kind of getting if I do say so myself, kind of a cool set of trinkets. A little bit different than like the last 2 days were beasts and undead. And both of them felt like it was just one-dimensional, one line. The trinkets themselves were tempo. The minions are going to have to win you the game. Trinkets or dragons are a little bit more cool. Same with Murlocs. Dragon Wing Glider. Whenever you play a card, give a friendly dragon 3 attack. All right? Attack for dragons. Cheap, easy, stats. Valorous Medallion. Start a combat, give your other minions 2/2. Poet Terracosis energy, right? Give permanent stats if you have the snapshotting minions. Otherwise, just take tempo at the beginning of the game. Still, 2/2 passively every single combat, even if it's not permanent, it's just a 2/2 buff. Buys you a lot of time in the mid-game, saves you a bunch of health. Training Certificate. Start of combat, double the stats of your 2 lowest attack minions. Ooh. Ooh. Piece of candy. Poet strats with Nightbane before used to be the name of the game. You get yourself a nice little Nightbane. The Nightbane then could scale up the entire board as you scale it up. You get multiple Nightbanes, Nightbane buffs Nightbane, that kind of stuff. Now we can take dragons, put them on the board. Now it does say minions here, not dragons. So like you can have to be careful about what you're playing. And if you have Poet, you could snapshot the doubled attack and double the attack on others and double the attack on others. Now, the logistics of this could be pretty tough. And sometimes you might not even be able to play 7 minions when you're trying to do it. Poet's oftentimes the smallest minion on your board unless you use a spell on it or, say, for example, have 2 poets. But this could get really, really, really good gradually over time. Alliance Keychain. We saw Horde Keychain before. It was the one that was buffing 6 or whatever. I forget the lesser ones. The greater one was 6/4 to minions that are 3-star or below. Do we have a lesser Horde Keychain or not? Alliance Keychain. The first time a friendly minion dies in combat, give its maximum stats to a random friendly unit. Oh. Taunt up big minion, have it die on poet board, snapshot its stats, and add it to another minion. taunt up that other minion, have it die first. You see where it's going. Ooh, snapshotting dragon stats are pretty cute. Holy Mallet, we saw this one previewed. Start of combat, give your leftmost and rightmost minion Divine Shield. Hey, look, a way of giving everything on the board Divine Shield for dragons. Permanently. Start of combat's obviously temporary unless you find a snapshot, but dragons have a lot of snapshotting options. Rockin' Music Box. At the end of each turn, get a random battlecry minion. Very different approach, right? Very different approach for dragons. This screams like Calicos. I get random battle cries each turn. The battle cries can be used for the value of the battle cry itself and the extra gold, but also in the long term, battle cry on Calicos is extra scaling. And gold. And Smuggler Portrait. I mean, if I would have put any bet anywhere out there on which dragon that Blizzard would choose to make a portrait out of, like, you know, they've done a bunch of these portrait things to make an enhanced version of a card. Whelp Smuggler would have been so far down on this list. This is such a creative approach to a different way of playing dragons. Get a Whelp Smuggler, and your Whelp Smugglers are now dragons. So now you can keep your permanent health scaling on a minion that is then going to be able to be buffed as well as all the other things on the board. Now you can stack Smugglers for even more stat gain on all the times where you're gaining stats. This card becomes basically as good as what's the 5-star dragon's name? Whichever one it is. The one that gives 1 extra health on dragons whenever it gets buffed. Yeah, this thing in turn is going to do the same thing and be another version of a dragon. So your board of like Brann, Calicos, and then just a bunch of Catalyst dragons is going to be, that dream is just alive and well. Smugglers, the other one that I can't think of its name, Calicos, Brann, Cycle Spot, do whatever else you want there. It's kind of a nasty thought. Now, does Calicos need a lot of support to be good? Yeah. Is it probably going to be a bit greedy for the game? Yeah. But we still got greater trinkets to get to. Anyway, greater trinkets. Shaman Prayer Beads, we saw this one before multiple times, said it was probably better suited in dragons or Murlocs instead of where it was before. It was in pirates, it seemed decent. And I think elementals was the other one. After you buy 2 battlecry minions, get a different battlecry minion. Yeah, you can see the Calicos support right there, right? Brann, Calicos, play the good cards, generate gold off of it. Buy more battle cries, generate battle cries. Awesome. Valorous Medallion. Start of combat, give your minions 5/5. I mean, even if it's just a 5/5 buff, it's a 5/5 buff, you know? Nice if you're falling behind, but also if you have like nice snapshotting off of Poet and whatnot. Then that, let's say it goes a long way. That's a lot of stats per turn. Alliance Keychain, level 2. The first time a friendly minion dies in combat, give its maximum stats to 2 random friendly minions. Man, this is going to be hard countered by people running Bramble Witch, but damn is that good if you have like a couple poets on the board. Snapshot anything that it lands on, then try to kill that one off next turn. At the very least, you're getting big stats off of things that you taunt. Worst case scenario is, well, you got a littler thing to die, and you still get snapshotted stats off of it. That's a ton of stats. Bronze Timepiece. We saw this one before. Set each of your minions' attack and health to the higher of the 2. So now if you can scale attack on dragons, on all the dragons, then all of them get scaled health to match it. Opposite way also possible if you get all health, which would be pretty common if you had, say, for example, Whelp Smuggler, Calicos type of board, you get tons of health scaling, then the attack matches up back with it. Whichever time period that is, right? So whichever of the 2 things you're scaling the best, you're basically effectively scaling both attack and health. Dragon Wing Glider, whenever you play a card, give a friendly dragon 6 attack. Typically I put the boring ones first. I must have missed this one. Boring. All right, next. Emerald Dreamcatcher. Start a combat. Set your dragon's attack to the highest in the warband. Oh. I see. So, like, I can take the biggest minion that I have and put it not adjacent Okay, you just need to buff one dragon then. And then your poets would snapshot that attack on everything. I mean, as long as there's cards like Drakaseth in the game, so I can just do like tremendous amounts of attack on one dragon, you can see it's getting pretty crazy. Spells exist after all. Essence of Dreams. Don't mind me just casually Googling which spell this is. Dreamer's Embrace. There it is. The battlecry one. Wait a second. What is this? Get a Dreamer's Embrace. At the start of each turn, get another. Why is it a picture of a Murloc in pajamas? What is this? I mean, I guess you're sleeping in pajamas? Makes some sense, I guess. Doesn't seem like what. Sure, Essence of Dreams. I dream of being a Murloc. Okay, you know what? It checks out, I suppose. So every turn you get the trigger a battlecry spell. Dope. And then Brann Bronzebeard portrait. Get a Brann Bronzebeard. Your Brann Bronzebeards are both Murlocs and Dragons. Dope. Now your Brann is a Murloc and a Dragon. You can cycle Primal Fin. You can buff it with Calicos. You can theoretically have Portrait, Smuggler Portraits, and Brann Portrait, and just like a bunch of neutrals are now dragons that are useful cards on that board. Scale them off of Cali and whatnot. Interesting. Seems more interesting to me as a dragon card than a Murloc card, because typically you don't care that much about buffing Brann on Murlocs. But hey, it's another card on the board to be able to get Murky, to have a higher number of Murlocs for like Murky or young Murkai boards. It doesn't have to be a dead card that you're taunting most of the time. The intercept hits, but oftentimes you like this to taunt a small minion anyway. It's not that big of a deal. But for dragons, like, it's oftentimes you'll have like want to sell Brann by the middle of the late game because you use your Callies, you get a bunch of stats, and then you want to put tech cards at the end. The Brann being a scaled minion on that board makes it way easier to keep around, which is really cool. Anyway, let's jump to Murlocs with that pivot right there. Murlocs, the Prey Felfen we've already seen. After you discover a minion, gain stats of the other options. Awesome for practically everything because passive stats are passive stats, and that's amazing. Hilariously broken on Cat. I don't know if they didn't see that coming, but we're going to see that one probably happen at some point and laugh about it. Hey guys, I get to steal the best minion from my opponent's board. I'm Cat. Never mind. I'm not going to steal the best minion from my opponent's board or from the people that die's board. I'm going to take the little one and just add the stats to the big guy on the board and keep doing that over and over and over again as people die. Merglin Burglar. 6-star 6/6, literally Satan. After you play a Murloc, give a friendly minion and a minion in your hand 6/6. This is literally Satan. Protest Hearthstone Battlegrounds. This was supposed to be a wholesome video game. Look at all these 6s. Seriously though, after you play a Murloc, give a friendly minion and a minion in your hand 6/6 is like, hey, I get a 12/12 off of Tad. Hey, I get a 24/24 off of, or I should say, a 24/24 off of Tad. I get a 36/36 off a Primal Fin or whatever. Sometimes you might buff the minion that you're cycling in your hand. Whatever it could be. Yeah. That's not great since it says after. But then again, we don't know exactly what the timing looks like with random cards being added to hand. With like Tad's timing. Or Primal Fin's timing. For Tad's timing, it's obvious because like you play Tad and then it triggers the stuff. And then you sell Tad and it doesn't trigger, so you can sell it before you play something else, right? Tad's easy. Primal Fin, I'm not 100% sure which one's going to go first. Does the minion get added to your hand or do you trigger this? I would guess it triggers first, but tough to say. At the very least, you might have, say, Brann plus Primal Fin and still be stuck with a minion in your hand that you occasionally buff. Dream there is that you're buffing like Breams or something so that they can be pulled by base skills and then you get stats for both. But sometimes you just keep pairs of other minions in your hand for a while. And then when you triple it, you get to redeem those stats. At the very least, you're buffing Murlocs that are on the board. I guess minions are on the board. It doesn't even say Murloc, which is pretty damn solid. Changed minions. Salt Scale Honcho is back on Tavern 1. Mercules is back on Tavern 2. No more Rockpool? No! One of the only original minions that have been in the game since day one. Rockpool Hunter's finally gone. Sleep well. Sleep well, sweet prince. Sleep well. You'll be missed. Anyway, moving on. No more Winterfinner, no more Murgle, no more Murloc. We knew these ahead of time. And last but not least, the Trinkets. Nurglish Phrasebook. Sure, why not? After you play a minion, give the leftmost minion in your hand 3/3. Well, that might as well just scream play Bream counter, doesn't it? In the middle of the game, you could always be holding some cards, which will allow you to take some extra stats, and then play that card to the board or whatever at the end of the turn. Once you have Bream, then most likely it gradually shifts its way to the leftmost minion in your hand anyway, and then you get to keep those stats for a long time. Twin Sky Lanterns we've seen before. When you have space, summon a copy of the first minion you summon each combat, which is actually pretty nasty if the only card you're summoning is the thing you're pulling off a base skill, and base skill pulls the biggest minion out of your hand. That means play Breams, play more Breams. Buff Bream, get 2 copies of it effectively, which is pretty nasty. Pretty damn crazy. Rockin' Music Box, at the end of each turn, get a random Battlecry minion, same as Dragons, and a Belcher Portrait. Belcher Portrait, get an Operatic Belcher. 5-star minion, Venom, Death Rattle, give Venom to a random friendly Murloc. Whenever a friendly minion loses Venomous, it gains 5/5 permanently. A little awkward, but kind of cool, especially for turn 6. There are a few Venomous minions that exist in the game. Spore is back in the game, for example. And I'm assuming Spore. Is Spore venomous or poisonous? Did they change that? I mean, it's pretty easy to check. Where are neutrals? I've got all of these documents. I might as well just bring it up. If I need to check it, I can check it. Spore is venomous. Why ask the question if you can just go check the answer? Any minion that is buffed by Belcher when it dies itself will be venomous. So like the Belcher gets 5/5, the other minion that it buffs gets 5/5. There are other minions that could exist on the board. If you have Baron, you can give more than one minion venomous. Just thinking about this for turn 6, like I get a free Venom minion that makes another Venom minion and also scales the board at minimum turn or 10/10 per turn is a really, really, really good tempo play. Whether or not that ends up being your direction at the end of the game, TBD. But like scaling in combination, especially scaling on like 2 minions on the board. If you can concentrate the scaling, because one of them is always going to be Belcher, and the other one would be the other Murloc you leave on the board. If you don't play more than 2 Murlocs, then you could just sell everything else and keep that stat line for a really long time. Also kind of awkward though, because as soon as you start making Belcher bigger, then it's not likely to die, so it might not venom something else. And once they get too big, then is the Venom really that useful on the minion that's really big on your board? Just feels like tempo to me, but you know, there's a little bit of value there. Shaman Prayer Beads, same as it was every other time we've seen it. Play Battle Cries, get Battle Cries, really good for high Battle Cry tribes like Murlocs and Dragons. Twin Sky Lanterns is 2 times the effect. Build a big Bream, summon a Bream, then have the Bream die. I guess for that matter, it's not die, it's open up another board space. And then you summon another Bream and another Bream. Tiny Fin onesie. All right, this is the interns running the show nowadays, isn't it? He's got to laugh at little bugs. Apparently they put the wrong card art in for one of these. It's your guess is as good as mine. Is this supposed to be a picture of a little Murloc pajamas for the Tiny Fin onesie, or maybe for Essence of Dreams? Wonder which one it's a mistake for. Yep. Tiny Fin onesie. I'm going to guess this one. Start a combat, your leftmost minion gains the stats and highest health minion in your stats of the highest health minion in your hand. So put a little minion position 1. Awkward, because you never like to put a big minion position 1. And it gains all of the stats of Bream. That screams play a random bullshit cleave minion position 1, doesn't it? Have a Bream counter in hand, build big Bream. Bream gets big. Now you have big cleave on the board that's equivalent to the size of the Bream. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. You have to telegraph position 1 cleave, though. people can cursor over you and see what your trinkets are. They see Tiny Fin onesie, they're just going to taunt a Leroy or taunt a Venom or play an adjacent Leroy to their one taunted minion or whatever it might be. Doesn't mean it's bad by any means, but feels like this is pretty counterplayable. The fact that they have to know what your board state is by just cursoring over you gives them a good advantage. Hey, look, it's Essence of Dreams again. I didn't even realize they were on the same page. I built this document and it didn't even occur to me at the time. That's funny. I saw it in Dragons and I was like, this makes no sense. Why is this a Murloc? And I didn't even notice it here when I went through this one. Nice. Well, it's just onesies for days, guys. Essence of Dreams. Get a Dreamer's Embrace. Remember, that's the spell that gives you trigger Battlecry every turn. Nurglish Phrasebook level 2. After you play a minion, you get the leftmost minion in your hand 6/6. That is just a nasty amount of stats. Think about how many times you cycle things on Brann Murloc boards and how many stats that would be on a Bream. That minion be huge. Anyway, Belcher Portrait Tier 2. Can you tell I've recorded like 8 YouTube videos today that I'm getting to the end of the last one and I'm like, I can't speak anymore? Crazy. Probably should have taken a break. Belcher Portrait. Get an operatic Belcher. Whenever a friendly minion loses Venomous, it gains a 15/15 permanently. I mean, it's the same as the original little one, but that's even more stats. It feels really lackluster at this point in the game. Those stats could be really relevant in the mid-game. Later, I mean, still like 30/30, 45/45, whatever per turn is not negligible scaling. You'll love to see it. And Brann Bronzebeard Portrait. Get a Brann Bronzebeard, and your Brann Bronzebeards are now Murlocs and Dragons. Dope. Awesome for a lot of effects. Another side effect of that Brann's Bronzebeard being a Murloc and a Dragon on the Calicos board is now you can cycle Primal Fin and not have to have a Murloc on the board as well. Just a little nice little side effect there because it becomes a premium minion. You don't have to have an amalgam or anything anymore. Damn, that's going to be pretty good. If only Calicos scaling is competitive. It might be. Who knows? Well, that's it. We've reached the very, 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 very end of patch reveal season. I did these in order for what it's worth and recorded them all in order. And I tried not to look too far ahead so that I could, have fun with you guys and do predictions and whatnot. I am still shell-shocked that they put Leapfrogger back in the game. But there's a lot of cool stuff on a lot of these tribes. Undead have a lot of different direction building lines there for scaling and for tempo. Murlocs have like gigantic Bream lines. Dragons got 2 support angles. Other tribes like Pirates got better versions of what they already had and a new archetype opened up for their death rattle composition. Beasts are going to leap all over your corpse and dance no matter what you do. So like, that portion's probably going to get nerfed pretty quickly. But we got like, mech crazy stuff that looks nasty. There's going to be so many opportunities opening up here in the next couple of days for theory crafting, but also like, the first few weeks of the season. This is why new seasons are awesome. We don't know what's going to be good. Pretty definitively say a couple things are going to be good, but we don't know what's going to shake out to be the meta of the game. And it's so much fun to experiment and have different ideas and converge upon different things early in seasons. This is why I play BGs, man. It's been a year since we had a brand new event like this. Anomalies being the last event, and that was a year ago almost to the day. Cannot wait for this to occur. Anyway, that's it. Tomorrow I'm going to do, or more accurately, today on stream, I'm going to do a full rundown of all of the trinkets and do like a tier list for them, a prediction tier list for fun. Because why not? It's always fun to guess on things and theory craft with them. And then you can laugh later on as you look at the tier list and be like, Bofur had an S tier for this thing and it ended up being trash. Or like, Bofur, you thought that was trash and this one ended up being S tier. Always fun to laugh, right? Anyway, if you want to join for that, we'll be live on stream starting, a little bit after this video goes live. 3 o'clock usually Eastern time is 2 hours after the video goes live. And I'll probably make it to YouTube tomorrow for the last final piece of patch preview stuff. Couple gameplay videos over the weekend, and then Monday is the playtest. Tuesday, the patch goes live. We're almost there, folks. So anyway, without any further ado, I will see you guys later. I will see you on the other side, and I will see you for funny theory crafting stuff tomorrow. Peace.